two highest scoring offenses in the country are in this game. There's two really good ones over in Dallas as well. Just from the big picture, do you think we're still stretching the limits of offensive football and what can be done?
Well, I mean, I think obviously with the way offensive football has progressed with the tempo and the wide openness, I think that, yeah, you'll continue to see people score points at the record pace that they score. Obviously for us, you know, the goal is to control the tempo as much as it is scoring points. And, you know, we've done a decent job of it. We've been fortunate that we've been able to create big plays, which has allowed us to score a bunch of points.
How do you think Nick has gone here? Right, there's been an evolution. 5 years ago, he thought, you know, speed football was like the worst thing that ever happened, and spoke out against it. Now you're sitting here number 2, I think, behind Oklahoma in offense, and there has to be some give and take and some evolution. How have you seen that since you came down to Bama?
Well, I think that's what makes coach. He's always going to find a way to try to improve. He's never really big on complacency and staying where you are. Obviously, I think being on the defensive side of the ball, the things that give him trouble are the things he likes to see out of his offense. And so, you know, I think the advent of the spread, the quarterbacks in the shotgun, the wide open, the tempo, those are all things that have given him trouble. And I guess as he's put together the philosophy of what he wants to be on offense, that's where you've seen the evolution.
And has Tua just been the final piece to this to push you guys?
Well, I think Tua, Jalen obviously has made plays for us here with the transition into the spread stuff that we've done. Started a couple years ago under Lane. I think Tua's taken it to another level in terms of being able to implement some of the RPO stuff and then even the drop back pass.
Last question. A left-handed quarterback can be challenging for a coordinator, I've been told, just because of protections and dropbacks and just everything's like a little bit of a different dance. Walk me through some of those nuances that are different about a left.
I think the big thing, at least for me, is just obviously when you do the move the pocket stuff, you want to have him rolling to the strength of his throwing side. But other than that, it's not a big issue.
Does it affect when you're doing drills, if your other quarterbacks are right-handed, is it a little bit?
Not really. I mean, I think play calling wise, the thing that you typically got to do is obviously when you're moving the pocket, he's sprinting out or he's running boots and nakeds. It's a little awkward throwing to the right with a left-handed quarterback, a little more challenging to align himself to make throws. And so you typically try to maybe call those things to help him roll and move to his throwing strength.
When you're calling plays for an offense with this many talented players, do you ever have a sense of, I don't want to be the guy that screws this up? All these guys.
Not at all. I mean, it's great. It's a fun problem to have. Obviously, going into the season, we thought that we would be really talented. We felt like we had running backs, at least 3 or 4 of those guys that were capable of being playmakers for us. Having coached the receivers last year, I knew that those young receivers and the way they've developed, that they would be a issue for people. And then the big pleasant surprise is Irv's development as the second tight end for us, and you know, Hale Hinches is kind of the glue. He's the blue-collar workhorse for us, and so we've been able to mix and match some personnel groupings, and then my challenge has been to get the ball to as many of those playmakers as I can in space and let those guys make plays, and they've done that.
Mike, as you reflect on leaving Maryland last time to coming back, where does Alabama experience fit in, just in terms of maybe how you're different or getting you in position to be able to get the job?
Yeah, I can tell you, I probably would not have been given this opportunity had it not been for the Alabama experience. And when I made the decision to come work for Coach Saban as an analyst, you know, in 2016, the reason I came here was to get behind the wall to see why Alabama has been able to sustain the winning and the way they do things. And I've not left, but I've had the opportunity now to see how it looks, how it should be done, how it should be practiced, all the philosophies behind what Coach calls the process. And it's been a great experience for me as a coach, and it's added to my toolbox.
Well, how much of it is just being associated with it, and how much of it is just you are a flat-out better coach than you started?
Well, I would hope that I get better as a coach each year. I mean, it's just like you as a reporter. I'm sure you get better as a reporter going through the experiences that you go through. I think anybody that comes in touch with the Alabama program and having the opportunity to work for Coach Saban, you can't help but get better. When you're around this guy and you get to see the work ethic, you get to see the organization, you get to see the structure, the discipline, how he goes about doing things, it rubs off not just on players but coaches as well.
Do you feel like what you gained from Alabama is more of the culture, philosophy type? aspect of coaching more than the X's and O's, or is it?
It's a little bit of everything. I mean, obviously the philosophy part of how to build a team, how to develop a culture, but I also have had an opportunity to see what good defense looks like on the other side of the ball. As I said in August when I did the press conference there, this is Alabama's offense. You know, what you do as a play caller is you put your personality on it. We run some of the same things that we ran under Lane, that we run under Brian Dable. I've been able to add some things to it, and that's what's developed the Alabama system. But you know, you learn from a philosophical standpoint a lot of things from Coach, but also just the football aspect. I mean, the guy's he's a big-time coach.
Is he hard to work for? And I don't mean that in a negative stance. I mean, in a negative stance, that's probably a good thing. But is he difficult to?
Not at all. I mean, if you do your job and you know you're prepared and your players come out and they're prepared, I think the big challenge is making sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. You got to make sure that you cover every single aspect of it, but a lot of it is already set because it's just how we practice, it's how he prepares, it's his weekly schedule, our weekly regiment. Usually doesn't allow a lot of surprises.
You talked about the challenge of trying to get the ball to all the different guys that you have. Is that easier when there's so many different guys, or is there a different challenge in doing that?
I mean, it's easy when you have a lot of really good players. The challenging part is trying to make those guys understand that the ball is going to be spread around. I mean, Damian has been one of the most unselfish guys. You know, he's a guy that has had the opportunity to break the all-time rushing record here at Alabama, but because of how the offense has kind of been molded this year, he may not have some of the individual statistics that he would like, but again, it's opened up the door for us to be really good on offense, and that people have to defend every aspect of the system.
You're going to be without one of your best run blockers, Deontay Brown, for this game. Just what are you losing in him, and how confident are you in Lester?
I mean, Lester's a 3-year starter. I mean, the guy started 3 years for us. Obviously, Deontay played really well for us, you know, coming into this season. But we have a lot of confidence in Lester, all the games that he started around here. We're fortunate to be able to have that type of depth to where when you lose a guy like Deontay, you have a 3-year starter like Lester Cotton there waiting to go. Tremendous confidence. I have a ton of confidence that Lester will come in and do his job.
When you're going against an offense in Oklahoma that scores so fast, do you kind of want to have those long drives, or is that something you consider as a...
No, I think anytime we want to control the tempo, and people misconstrue controlling the tempo with playing slow or running the football, but for us, controlling the tempo is being efficient on first and second down, which allows you to sustain drives. Now, for us, we've been really fortunate that there have been some first and second downs where we throw a 5-yard slant and it goes 60 yards. That's still being efficient, and you know, we're not going to apologize for scoring fast, but in the grand scheme of things, the goal is to be efficient on first and second down, keep it in manageable third downs, and be able to move the ball.
You mentioned Damian earlier. Did you ever have to talk with him? I'm sure that was a big goal for him. Was he just completely unselfish, or did you ever have to kind of talk with him?
We never, I mean, these guys, every guy on offense have put their egos aside for the betterment of the unit, and that's the thing I've been most excited and proud about. Because on any given day, I mean, a guy like, you know, Jerry Jeudy wins the Balintikoff Award, and he'll probably be the first to tell you if he didn't have Smitty and Ruggs on the other side of him, that he may not have been given that opportunity. But having so many different playmakers on the field at once, it's hard to defend all those guys.
Is Butch Indeed joining you on staff at Maryland?
I haven't signed Butch up to a contract just yet, so tough question.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship that you've established with him, I guess, this past year, how strong is that? I mean,
I've established relationships. Our offensive staff is a really tight-knit group, from Dan Enos to Josh Gaddis to Brett Key, Joe Panunzio, Jeff Banks. All those guys have played an integral part in our system, how it's been developed, how it's been coached. Obviously, Butch has a role with us, a role that I actually did a couple of years ago as an analyst, to where he brings another perspective, a different view, a big picture view, and that's helped me tremendously.
how much does his philosophy or ideas align with yours?
Well, they align with Coach Saban's. That's the most important thing here at Alabama. So I think, like I said, Butch's big picture thoughts, how he sees things, have been very good for me as a play caller, because it gives you another set of eyes, much like when I was in the analyst role. You kind of have an opportunity to see things outside of coaching a position. So been very helpful.
Mike, as you go through the staffing process at Maryland, how important is it for you to possibly have a former head coach on staff? Is that something you think about when you try to put together all the pieces?
Yeah, as you put it together, obviously, being able to have guys that have sat in that chair before. I mean, obviously, I had a cup of coffee in that chair there at New Mexico, but having guys like Butch, if he were to come on board, or any of these guys that have had head coaching experience, I think when you're bouncing around thoughts, bouncing around ideas, that it's good to have somebody that's had the opportunity to be in that position and to help you maybe make the right choices.